Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you did not see the news that dropped yesterday, very big news in the gaming industry, very big news in the gaming world and just the tech world in general. And of course very big for this channel because this affects Overwatch directly in a very, very big way. Yesterday it was announced that Microsoft will be buying Activision-Blizzard for about $70 billion, $68 billion, somewhere in that ballpark. So I have a couple things I want to show you guys, and I want to go through my opinions on it. Two different articles we're going to go through, or one article and one kind of press release. So I'm not going to read everything here from this article. I'll kind of read some of the key points. This comes from Bloomberg. I will have a link to this and everything I talk about in the description if you want to read it for yourself and read the full thing. But here's some of the big things here. Microsoft buys scandal-tainted Activision in bet on Metaverse. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick is expected to leave after close. Call of Duty publisher faces lawsuits over discrimination. We've talked about all this, so nothing here is really new. So here we go. Microsoft Corporation plans to buy Activision-Blizzard Incorporated for $68.7 billion, acquiring a legendary game publisher responsible for franchises like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft, but recently roiled by claims of sexual misconduct and discrimination. Of course, we've talked about that a million times. You all know about that, I'm sure, if you're watching this channel. In its largest purchase ever, Microsoft will pay $95 a share in cash to add Activision's stable of popular titles, helping the software giant expand its own offerings for the Xbox console and push it into the fast-growing markets for mobile gaming and the metaverse. The deal, which would make Microsoft the world's #3 gaming company, also fits with Chief Executive Satya Nadella's strategy of focusing on content, community, and cloud software. Now, if I had to guess who number 1 and 2 are, I would assume Sony is probably number 1. I don't know if Nintendo is number 2. I assume they're up there. I've always felt like Nintendo was big, but wasn't necessarily the biggest in the world, just because they're kind of like, they do a lot of their own thing, but that could be why they're so big. I don't know. They do make their own consoles, so they probably are up there. And they're really big in Japan. And the rest of the world, which is Microsoft has never been really good at, so most likely it's up there with those two, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Because I'm sure Tencent is probably also pretty big, but they're not fully a gaming company. I'd have to look into that, but not that important right now. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, 58, will continue to serve in that role until the deal closes. A person familiar with the deal said, "Once the transaction is complete, the Activision Blizzard business will report to Phil Spencer, who as part of the deal was promoted to CEO of Microsoft Gaming." So this is the big key here that I have been kind of paying attention to when the deal first broke this morning, when the news first broke this morning, was how long would Bobby Kotick be around? And it looks like he will be around until the deal closes, which I don't know if it says it in this article when that will happen, but I know it says it in some other things later, so I won't touch on that just yet. Here it talks about it competing with Sony and how COD is very big. Here's some quotes from Nadella about Microsoft's acquisition. Of course, we have a bit here about the lawsuit that is going on with Activision Blizzard. If somehow you don't know about the lawsuit, I've made a video on it. There's tons of articles on it. I'll put the video in the cards, but just look it up. it's pretty big. Here's one of the big things to note. The deal will also likely face tough regulatory scrutiny in the US, where big technology companies are being probed by regulators for their reach and influence. China, which has also been sparring with the US already over technology issues, will also likely review the merger. Kotick, who has led Activision for 3 decades, came under pressure to resign after an explosive report in the Wall Street Journal last fall that tied him personally to reports of mistreatment of women and suggested he was aware for years of sexual misconduct, including sexual assault, at the company, but didn't report it to the board. And Kotick has apologized and pledged to make changes, right? But of course, he claims that that had nothing to do with the controversy surrounding Activision, and the sale had nothing to do with that. But here's an interesting little bit here. A person familiar with the discussions, who was not authorized to speak publicly, said Microsoft looked at Activision's situation, given all the negative attention and pressure on Kotick, and wondered if the beleaguered CEO would be willing to do a deal. Now here's where I want to jump in and give my first kind of major thought on what happened. This is my personal take on what happened. Could be true, could not be true, but I think it probably is pretty close to the truth, okay? When the news broke in the summer, the original news story broke out, the original lawsuit broke out, I think what we saw was the initial attempts by Bobby Kotick and the executives at Activision-Blizzard to kind of do a quick fix to the problem, right? They removed a bunch of people. Obviously, we saw J. Allen Brack get removed, and they put Mike Ibarra and Jen O'Neill in charge of Blizzard, and we saw some changes. But we didn't see top-level changes, which is what people really, really wanted, right? Everybody who was kind of in the sphere, paying attention to the story, wanted to see Bobby Kotick get removed. We weren't seeing it, but at that point in time, there was not much publicly available about Bobby Kotick and his involvement in the situation. But we did see Activision Blizzard get hit by that, and it was hard. Then fall comes around, we get that article that comes out that explicitly mentions stuff that Bobby Kotick did, and I think what we saw there was Bobby Kotick and the board hitting this realization of, we are doomed, we are not going to be able to escape the situation, so we need to find a way out. We need to think of a strategy that gets us out of this situation, that gets us in the clear, that salvages this company, and that we benefit from. And I think what ends up happening there is Microsoft, who are saying, we don't really want to work with this company in this capacity, sees the company essentially cannibalizing themselves because their leadership doesn't want to do anything. And they come and they say, we want to buy this company. And obviously, Kotick has mentioned he was not willing to sell originally. My guess is Microsoft first came to them when the original news story broke that the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, that's what it is, first came to them, and they probably made something then. Kotick figured he had leverage, didn't really have leverage. Second news story comes out, he most definitely doesn't have leverage. Now Microsoft probably put on a ton more pressure, basically saying, sell us this company, we're not going to give you a better offer. And then Kotick and the rest of the board decided, this is the only way we can get out of this situation on top, is by selling the company, getting a fat paycheck, and then leaving and making it somebody else's problem to fix the mess that we created. And so they decided to sell it. So it's the unfortunate reality of, I think there is winners on every side, but the ultimate winner in this situation, I think, unfortunately, is Bobby Kotick and is the board of directors at Activision-Blizzard. Because they basically get to say, we are walking away with a fat paycheck, and I think I'll be able to pull up the numbers here in a little bit. I will find them and show you just how much money we're talking about here, how much he can make. It might mention it in this article, I don't remember exactly. And, right, they get to say, we made this problem, and we are not going to be responsible for fixing it. It's going to be somebody else's problem. We won't have to worry about it. We get to watch this transition happen, or bring in a fat stack of cash, and get out. That annoys me. That bothers me. But I do think there are a lot of positives to this deal, and we'll talk about them more as we get into further articles, both the Microsoft Xbox press release as well as some tweets from Jason Schreier, who is a Bloomberg reporter who is amazing and incredible, does a great job with stuff like this. So I wanted to show some of his tweets. But as I mentioned, kind of with some of the stuff, as I kind of alluded to a little bit, Kotick initially didn't want to sell, according to another person familiar with the talks, put out the word to see if any other company would outbid Microsoft, but at that point he had little leverage with his board amid the ongoing public scrutiny at his company. Then it gets into some stock information, which if you care about stocks, here you go. Then more stuff about stocks and also the scandal. As you remember, of course, Spencer, if you paid attention, said last November that Microsoft was reevaluating its relationship with Activision and making proactive adjustments in the wake of the Wall Street Journal report. We saw Nintendo do similar stuff, Sony do similar stuff. We even saw Lego come out and say that they were reassessing their relationship. So Activision Blizzard was losing a ton of leverage and a ton of sponsors, a ton of partnerships that were going to essentially kill them. So they couldn't really let that happen anymore. And then there's some stuff here about most of their big games. Microsoft does still have plans to keep some of Activision's games for PlayStation, but keep some stuff exclusive to Xbox. Stuff talking about them getting Bethesda and Mojang, Game Pass. So there's stuff here, like I said, definitely stuff you want to read more about it. I would read more through it if you want to, but I wanted to read the press release that Xbox released because it does have some information in here, and it's obviously a little bit of a different perspective. And look what game they put first, Overwatch. Woo, we did it! We're the most important. So, this is the article welcoming the incredible teams and legendary franchises of Activision Blizzard to Microsoft Gaming. This broke January 18th, 2022 at 5:25 a.m. That may have been Pacific, which it probably was because they're obviously on the West Coast. And this is by Phil Spencer, CEO, Microsoft Gaming. I'm going to read this whole release. It's not too long, but I figured I'd read the whole thing just so you're going to get the word from Phil Spencer himself. He says, quote, creators of Call of Duty, Warcraft, Candy Crush, Tony Hawk, which, interjection, I think it's funny that they're calling themselves the creators of Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk was made in a lab by Activision. Not the games. Tony Hawk himself was made in a lab by Activision. Who would have guessed? Continuing on. Diablo, Overwatch, Spyro, Hearthstone, Guitar Hero, Crash Bandicoot, StarCraft, and more join Team Xbox. As a team, we are on a mission to extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone on the planet. We all know that gaming is the most vibrant and dynamic form of entertainment worldwide, and we've experienced the power of social connection and friendship that gaming makes possible. As we pursue that mission, it is incredibly exciting to announce that Microsoft has agreed to acquire Activision-Blizzard. Over many decades, the studios and teams that make up Activision Blizzard have earned vast wellsprings of joy and respect from billions of people all over the world. We are incredibly excited to have the chance to work with the amazing, talented, dedicated people across Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, Beenox, Demonware, Digital Legends, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, King, Major League Gaming, Radical Entertainment, Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Toys for Bob, Treyarch, and every team across Activision Blizzard. Quick interjection. Earned vast wellsprings of joy and respect from billions of people all over the world. Well, they've also certainly lost vast wellsprings of respect from billions of people all over the world. So, definitely need to see some improvement, but we carry on. Until this transaction closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will continue to operate independently. Once the deal is complete, the Activision Blizzard business will report to me as CEO, Microsoft Gaming. The me, of course, being Phil Spencer, not me, the man reading this to you on a silly little YouTube video. Upon close, we will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog. We also announced today that Game Pass now has more than 25 million subscribers. As always, we look forward to continuing to add more value and more great games to Game Pass. The fantastic franchises across Activision Blizzard will also accelerate our plans for cloud gaming, allowing more people in more places around the world to participate in the Xbox community using phones, tablets, laptops, and other devices you already own. Activision Blizzard games are enjoyed on a variety of platforms, and we plan to continue to support those communities moving forward. As a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment. We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard. Around the world, there is no more exciting venue for fun and connection than video games. There has never been a better time to play than right now. As we extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone, we look forward to welcoming all of our friends at Activision-Blizzard to Microsoft Gaming. And then there is the gaming leadership team at Xbox and Microsoft, and very, very, very directly, I think, to kind of send a message. They have everybody, they list their pronouns, and then they list also their role within Microsoft. So I think that was not a very secret thing they were doing there. I think that was pretty direct, and it was them specifically sending a kind of message here. Obviously, the big quote here when considering what's going on with Activision Blizzard recently is this paragraph here, and this final sentence: "We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard." Phil Spencer is saying directly to the people everywhere that their goal is to improve that studio and improve the environment there. That is obviously what we want. That is the overall net positive thing, is that the culture at Activision Blizzard is better as a result of this acquisition. The hope is that that is going to happen, and I believe it will. I've seen tweets all day today about people who have mentioned that the amount of people from other studios that have been purchased by Microsoft or work under Microsoft have said that the culture did get better upon purchase, and that it was an overall net positive. I also saw a tweet from somebody working at Arcane Studios, who is the developer of games such as Deathloop and Dishonored, which Dishonored is one of my personal favorite games of all time. But Arcane is a subsidiary of Bethesda Game Studios, who, of course, were purchased by Microsoft back in 2020. So this... Anyway, I got sidetracked. But the person who worked at Arcane had tweeted that she was happy to welcome in all the Activision Blizzard people, and she wanted to see Bobby Kotick fired. So that was a huge, big, obviously, tweet where we're seeing a number of companies who are showing that there is a very strong culture in Microsoft. And I hope that this is going to be the door opening to much bigger and better things for Activision Blizzard and their properties and IPs. I mentioned Jason Schreier, so I wanted to show some of his tweets today. Jason Schreier is very, very good. Definitely check out his stuff. Follow him on Twitter. But he has a couple things that he tweeted out today that I do want to kind of talk about real quickly, and then I will get into my final thoughts and I'll end this video. I know it's a little long. It'll probably be a little bit longer than a lot of my other videos recently, but it's fine. So, here is an excerpt that Jason Schreier shared today from an email from Bobby Kotick that he sent out to the staff, which gives us a good idea of when things are going to happen. Transactions like these can take a long time to complete. Until we receive all the necessary regulatory approvals and other customary closing conditions are satisfied, which we expect to be sometime in Microsoft's fiscal 2023 year, ending June 30th, 2023, also known as my 24th birthday, we will continue to operate completely autonomously. I, Bobby Kotick, one of the worst people on the planet Earth, will continue as our CEO with the same passion and enthusiasm I had when I began this amazing journey in 1991. And then there's stuff about stuff like that. So this gives you an idea of kind of when to expect Bobby Kotick to be still the CEO of Activision Blizzard. It appears that he will be there for at least another year, probably a year and a few months. Depends on when the deal obviously is finalized, but they're hoping that it will be by the 30th of June, 2023. So before that point is the goal to have it finished. And Jason Schreier did have some tweets that I do think were very, very good, and this is kind of the big one here. While monopolies are undoubtedly bad news for the video game industry, this acquisition could have some positive effects on Blizzard both culturally and strategically. Under Activision, every game had to be a billion-dollar franchise. Under Xbox, that will likely change. Bobby's ultimate goal, other than to get away with everything he did, was to turn Blizzard into another Activision studio cranking out yearly hits. Under Xbox, Blizzard may be able to regain some of its autonomy and fix some big problems. Maybe. Important to also note here that many of Blizzard's issues were entirely self-inflicted and had nothing to do with Activision, including the sexual misconduct and discrimination. So those were issues that were a thing before. But if you want to talk about good games, better games, right? One of the big things that Blizzard has always been about was about taking time to get games right. I respect that, and it's why I'm not that worried about Overwatch 2 getting delayed. I'm more concerned about the fact that there isn't going to be as much stuff in Overwatch 1 as a result of that, but I am okay with Overwatch 2 getting delayed if it means the game is better at launch. And that is who Blizzard has been as a company forever, and so I think that that will be better for the company if Xbox kind of gives them that freedom. Because they don't need Blizzard to be cranking out billion-dollar games every year, because they already have, adding Activision, you're going to get Call of Duty that does that. And then you also are going to be relying on your other major studio hits that you have. You have Halo as a game that's big. You're getting all these Bethesda games. You don't really need the games to hit that much every year because you have a ton of other games that are going to make up for it. And when, the big release of Overwatch 2 does come out, and when the big release of Diablo 4 does come out, they're going to benefit from it anyway. So they don't need it to be that consistent, right? So here's another tweet, which is good. And this is pretty much my overall kind of thoughts on the matter. Some sentiments I've heard from Activision Blizzard employees today. Optimism about management changes and a positive culture at several Xbox-owned studios. Fury toward Microsoft for giving Bobby Kotick a big payday and soft exit. And a determination to keep organizing, right? This is not the end of this situation. This is only the beginning of the future of Blizzard, right? And so they are going to continue to keep organizing and keep the fight going to have everything go the way that they need it to go, right? Workers are still going to organize. They still are going to fight for unions. They're still going to fight for better working conditions, and they're going to fight for everything they can to make this company better for everybody, right? But this is still a positive step, right? There are winners in this situation, and there are losers in this situation. Hopefully the winners outweigh the losers, and hopefully the winners are the studio itself and the employees of the studio, that hopefully they get a stronger, more welcoming, more diverse culture, and they don't end up in a place where they're basically just still in the same place they are right now, with a really terrible work environment, a really terrible workplace culture that just doesn't allow them to actually make the games well, and that actually kind of prevents them from having a strong environment that is cultivating of all of the people that are there. And of course, Bobby Kotick blamed the delays of Overwatch and Diablo for everything, and not the fact that all of them and the delays and the underperformance of Call of Duty were all related to the scandal that you were involved in, Bobby Kotick. Why are you so stubborn? I don't know. Overall, my thoughts are pretty much in common with what Jason Schreier kind of shared from the Activision Blizzard employees, and I kind of have explained it throughout this video. Overall, I'm hopeful, right? I think this acquisition is going to be better in the long term. I think we're going to get better quality games because we're not going to have the same kind of rushed approach that Activision has put on the Blizzard games. And so the delay of Overwatch 2 doesn't really matter as much going forward, because the game will be able to have some of that polish. And I think even though it stinks that the game is getting delayed and we want the game as soon as possible, I think it's nice to see that the company is moving in a direction where hopefully those delays and stuff are going to actually be welcome, and the way that the game is going to be developed and produced is going to be more important than them getting a game out on time, because I think that's always more important. There's a very famous quote, I believe from Shigeru Miyamoto, which is, a delayed game is eventually good, an early game or a rushed game is bad forever. Something along those lines, right? A game that is rushed out and bad at launch will always be tarnished. It will always have a bad reputation, even if the game gets better by the time it's out, right? A game like No Man's Sky or Fallout 76, which have a lot of people have said the games got a lot better over time. Their reputation is forever destroyed by their terrible, terrible releases and their terrible, terrible launches. Same with like Cyberpunk 2077. That game had a bad launch. It was a buggy mess. That game's reputation, even if it is a really good game now, I don't know if it is, I don't really pay attention to it, is tarnished, and it'll never recover from the bad launch that it had. So I'm hopeful that the Activision-Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft will lead to better games. But more importantly, I do really hope that the workplace culture gets better, right? I really wish Bobby Kotick was not getting a fat paycheck and was just going to be able to essentially let other people deal with the problems that he created. That does annoy me, and that does tick me off, and I'm frustrated that we have reached the point where he basically gets to get away with this for free. But I'm hopeful, more so than anything else, that this will involve meaningful change for the future of Activision Blizzard. That the companies can look and say, look, this next year and a half or year or whatever is going to be bad. It's going to be really rough, and we are going to continue organizing, we're going to continue fighting, and we're going to continue trying to make meaningful change here before the Microsoft acquisition is finalized. Because the reality is, right, this is a huge acquisition that could very much get blocked by antitrust. It could have some kind of, conditions to it that maybe get certain studios can't get sold, and maybe some of them have to stay, and maybe they end up in this kind of weird flux. There is definitely still concern in that regard about what could happen with the antitrust. But I think overall, I'm hopeful and I'm excited for the future of Blizzard and Blizzard Esports and the Overwatch League and Overwatch and the culture that will be cultivated now in a more inclusive environment from Microsoft. Based on everything I've heard, I know people who work at Microsoft, and they say that the culture there is fantastic and they do genuinely love it there. So I'm hopeful that that is going to be what we get, but only time will tell at this point. But it's going to be a brighter future, I think, for Activision Blizzard. We're finally getting to some good stories, in my opinion, on the Activision Blizzard situation. It's not over yet. The fighting is not over. There is still much to do, and there is still a lot that needs to be done. We are still not out of the woods just yet. We got to keep pushing for the unionization. We got to keep pushing for better stuff, better working conditions, better treatment of workers, all that type of stuff. But I think we're almost there, everybody. We're almost to a better future. So that's it. That's everything. Those are my thoughts on all this stuff. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on this. If you're for this move, against this move, any thoughts at all on this situation, I would like to hear from you. Have a nice little conversation about it. I know it's a very serious topic, and I'm sure people are going to have wildly different thoughts on this matter, but I'm curious to hear from you. I'm excited to hear from you, and I am very much hoping that we have some fun, more civil discourse surrounding this, because it is obviously super, super interesting, and I would love to hear from you all. So that's all for me today. I know this one was pretty long, so we'll end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.